All right, let's see. We got sound. Let's go. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I think we're finally ready. I am working on some core displayio stuff, some related to one of the weeds topics from the meeting yesterday, some related to the last stuff we worked on in the core, which was the vector IO hidden. So I saw Scott feedback on there today about moving the place where we declare this, which was in vector shape H. Let's go back to vectorio hidden. Let's see, is that shared? Probably shared. Below. Looks like there's two. Moving this down below current area dirty. Dirty is down here. Omitting the one. Unaligning the pointer that follows. It's down here instead. Still works. We have a funhouse. Funhouse is what's plugged in. House. Oh, we probably need this. Yeah, there we could like make that automatic somehow. You have like a bash RC for a certain folder? Sense? Load this file whenever you load that folder in a terminal? Okay. So I don't have the camera set up, so I won't be able to switch back and show the device, but we'll see the serial if it becomes important, and I have to take my word for what's on the screen, basically. For now. Let's go to bootloader. Go. Mouse boot. The thing I have up now is not for this at all. This is testing something totally not actually the code. I'll have to wait for it to get back here. Turn back to CircuitPy. May not refreshing here. Ones. So this is something else. This is the other thing we're going to work on, is the way that we might change display.show. This is unrelated to what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is code show API. This one, there is sample code on the okay. Yeah, I don't have the camera, so I'm saving it. It is running. They are all blinking. Makes sense because we're setting hidden on each one of them. So that does appear to me like it's still working fine. So we'll run pre-commit. Stuff. Is from anything we did? Shared bindings. Progressive. No module polib. Translations. Polib. Like get text. It was installed before. Okay. Okay. Run into this problem before where there's like changes that I didn't make. Both of them are kind of similar with this pi object C thing. Why these show up as my change though? I change these. Submod. Sub. Just gonna like commit here, which. Oh, he said also get rid of the one, right? Take that from somewhere. Hidden on the bitmap. One. Guess we got it. But say that's gonna work, sure. just build it and try it though. Okay, still good. All shapes blinking. Good there. Our changes are removing the one and bouncing this down below current area dirty. We're only checking in those, and then past pre-commit. Theoretically, when we commit it, we'll pass the action. It's there also. The other one is not in a PR. Oh, nice. This is what we're... And so specifically, I'm going to try to do this, which is... Well, let me set the stage here, I guess. Let's explain this before I dive super duper straight in. That'll be good to just for me to orate it anyway before I jump in. So if anybody doesn't know what's going on, you'll get a chance to learn. So we are thinking, so right now the current displayio API works like this. You create, or automatically there was already created for you, a display object. So if you're using an external display, you'd have to create your own display object. If you're using a built-in display, then oftentimes it will just be declared on the board like this, and you don't actually have to worry about it getting initialized. It will happen for you automatically. CircuitPython is awesome like that. Once you get your display, you can make a group, which is kind of like a list that can hold multiple displayio objects. Once you have your group, you can add displayio things to it. This is adding vector IO objects, as well as a display shapes bitmap object for a circle also, just a different style of circle basically. You can add these things to your group, and then when you're ready to show your group on the display, the way it works today is you do this. You take your display variable, which again, you either initialized yourself or was already initialized on your board. Take that variable, you call show, you pass in the group that you want to show, and now all these objects that you added into the group by appending them, these will now be visible on the display. If you want to go back to the terminal, the default display for CircuitPython before you show anything, where it just outputs what you print and the REPL and all that stuff, you would call display.show none. This would take you back to the serial terminal so that you would see the Blinka icon and all the text scrolling by. That's how it works today. What we want to do is update it to work more like this one. Grab this code and put it back in here. Instead of calling .show, we want to say display.rootGroup, and then you give it the group. So in this case, well, this one actually did it a little bit differently. This one, instead of creating a variable to hold the group, it actually just went ahead and put the new group, the empty group, inside of root group. it's maybe more clear what's happening. It's written this way if you're not used to how this works yet, which like nobody is used to how it works yet because it's brand new, so it doesn't even exist yet. This makes it more clear, I think. So main group would be a variable, and then you would set whatever group you want to show to root group property. So you say display.rootGroup equals, and then whatever group you want to show, instead of calling .show like it is today. The hope is that this idea of setting the group onto your display as a property, as opposed to calling show, hopefully will make it more clear that you don't need to recall show again if you like update your group or something. Sometimes what we see in Discord and other places is people who are just like new to displayio. They'll create a group, they'll call show, and then they'll call show like inside their main loop or something like that over and over again, thinking that it's gonna like refresh the display, and that's not really what show is for. So the idea is changing that to a property instead of a function call hopefully makes the intention of what the code is more clear. So that's like one thing that's going on. And I have a build where that is possible. So like right now today, if I just run this on the stock builds that we just did, well, they're not stock, but they're from that Vector.io PR, which makes them stock for these purposes, then we'll just get an error that says, hey, display doesn't have... It's actually kind of funny. We get an error that says display has no attribute root group. I guess attribute implies settable. I thought attribute was either gettable or settable, but the truth is that it does have a root group, but it's get only. You cannot set it like this in current CircuitPython. I have a branch where you can set it. That is this branch over here. Set root group. But in this branch, if we made a build with it and we install it on our device, we will not get this error anymore. Instead, this will actually work. It will show our main group on the display. In this case, it will put a couple of things in it, put a pixel and a rectangle in it, and then wait 3 seconds, and then after it's done, it will say display.rootGroup equals none, which, just like display.show, when you give it none, this will take it back to the terminal. But what we would like is this code to be more descriptive, right? None feels like a magic value. Why does none get you back to a terminal instead of like showing nothing? It feels like, if anything, if you set that to none, you'd be saying like, don't show anything, show nothing. What would be cool though is instead of none, if it was like displayio dot, serial group or something like this. This was a built-in thing that you could import, and then this would be a pointer to the serial group. So when you set your display root group to this, it would show you that blink icon and the serial output, all that normal stuff that you see before you start showing displayio stuff in your program. So that is the main goal of what I want to do right now, is change it from you pass none here and that gets you back to the serial, to you pass something more like this, and this is what gets you back to the serial. Because this way the code is more legible, right? If you read this code, you know exactly what it's going to do, more so than the old code, because it's descriptive. It says like we're going to be showing the serial group because we're setting that on our root group that's on the display. I do wonder if root group is the right name for this. Root group is an existing name. We're thinking about making this change so that you set the property into it, but I wonder if it should be like visible group or showing group. I wonder if either of those are any better than root group. But that's kind of a different discussion. This is what we'll try to do today, though, is see if I can make a serial group entry that will point to serial group so that we can set back to it when we're ready. I will start by I checked this out, so we're going to make a build on this side. We do still have a change here. I don't know what's going on with that. We'll have to probably not commit that if we end up making a PR from this branch. I'll just make Funhouse again, right? Yeah, I think we just reused Funhouse, so this again. From where it's built, we go to bootloader mode, copy it. I'm loving how fast this computer builds CircuitPython. This feels insanely fast, especially for an ESP build. Okay, is now on, and so the current code will show the pixel and the rectangle for a few seconds, 3 seconds to be specific, and then it will change back to the serial output. So like if I were to go in here and start doing REPL stuff, we would see this on the display, which I do. Obviously, I don't have the camera, so you can't see it, but it is showing up on the display. All of that's working fine. So we want to make it to where instead of, and the code that's running was still the none here. The code that's running has the none right here. We were to try to change it to this, it will crash because this doesn't exist yet. After 3 seconds. Right there. Module has no object or group. So that's what we need to add. I'm actually sure how we add it. So I know the object that we want it to return is... Basically, we could find that... Look at the code we changed so far. Oh, it's kind of hard, isn't it, actually? We could compare, I guess. We could compare to main. Compare with current. It's display C we changed only. Display 8. So I made it get set. This doesn't look like any. It's kind of weird. Okay, that was like our code format. Yeah, here's the bulk of the actual changes, which is we added a get set instead of what used to be before only a getter. Really what we want is when it was none, which is right here. Let's figure out what your group in. No, that's not what we do. This is if it's not equal none, actually. We want, we do, so we went, okay. So we go inside common how, displayio, display show. So we need to find that. Let's find that. I think that's probably in shared module. We're in shared module display or shared module display core. Maybe the one, maybe it's, I just find this. Do we? It's called from reset display. There it is. Okay. Okay. So it exists in here. Common how, displayio, display show. This is in display C, but it pretty much only just calls this displayio, display core show. So we actually need to go to there. Control clicks don't work. But that'd be pretty sweet if they did. Do you think we could make control clicks work? That'd be really, really sweet if they would. I think that's worth a few minutes. Let's give it a try. This would be under project. Where's project? Have project? Let's get to make this. No idea though. Because there's like a project structure. Basically, we want to make some of the folders blue so that they're source folders. So that PyCharm knows that they're source folders. And I guess we have marked directory as. We could just do that. It's so weird though that there's not. Project setting. Trying to get to project settings. We go. This will work. We just make both of these. It'd be so nice if this. No, this didn't change to blue. It's no longer in the list though. Sources directory. Possible choice, I mean. Curious though, where is project settings? Does that just exist, right? Settings? Oh, mixed in? Separate. All these ones with this in our project. But there's one called project structure. Where you can declare which folders search for code and stuff. It's not the yes. Upvote. Person is looking for literally the exact same thing I want. Yes. Oh, yes. King. It's in spirit. It's just not supposed to nothing. I'm impressed with CLI entry. Does not seem as helpful to C projects as PyCharm is to Python projects. Although this is literally the only project I use it with. Maybe it's a weird structure for something that it's not expecting. I don't know. I am guessing there's a way I could probably set it up to where it would work. Maybe it would work now. I suppose I never did try it. Do you think it works now? No, it still doesn't click. Some stuff is. It's like, I think this stuff is in this file though, right? This is right here. This is in the file. So stuff inside the same file is clickable, but not. I'd like to be able to click through to that, but I copy it. We'll go to module. if they passed, this is what they passed in. If they passed in null, which is none, and if CircuitPython splash is not in a group, then set the position to 0, 0. Change anything. I'll start terminal with height and width of the display. This is a display object, essentially. Set root group equal to CircuitPython splash. So CircuitPython splash is the name of the serial terminal group. Basically, the group that contains the Blinka icon, the scrolling text from prints and serials and REPLs. And so CircuitPython splash, that is the object we want to return when the user accesses this displayio serial group. Where does it actually come? How does it just exist here? I have 4 usages and these are it. It actually come. Group CircuitPython splash. So it comes from init in displayio. Where does it get set though, I wonder? Created. Kernel. Well, this took us somewhere. This took us into display C. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen code like this. So this is like creating group object, it looks like. Huh. Okay. Okay, this is basically, yeah, this is, okay, in fact right here, this is creating the logo, creating the terminal IO object, which is basically a grid of text that can scroll. It's going to be adding both of those as splash children. It's going to be adding all the splash children as the members of CircuitPython splash. I don't know how these get added though. Oh, members, it's modifying members, but then members here. Oh, this is else. Else, okay, so what if both are true though? Oh, these would stack because this if is here and then this one is inside. I see. Okay, so if terminal IO is true, then we go in here and check if REPL logo is true. If so, we do this. If not, we do this. Else, if terminal IO was not true, then we check on REPL logo. If that was true, we do this. Else, we do this. So this is basically setting members in one of these 4 ways. 4-ish, I think it's 4, maybe 3. It's a handful of ways. It's basically setting up members using one of these branches of the logic. And then members will get put into splash children. Splash children will get used inside CircuitPython splash. And this is inside supervisor shared display C. So do we just have this everywhere? We have to import that or something? Like, Okay, yeah, looks like we import it with this probably. Do we need to import it though? What's the thing that exists on displayio module? Release displays. Let's look and try to find release displays. How does that work? Common how displayio release displays. Does not exist in init H, but it does in init C as a definition. Release displays, so it's inside of shared bindings also. Just added like this. And so all the rest of these are, whoa, we do not want that. All the rest of these are classes that you can instantiate. This one is only a function that you can call, which is the closest example to what we want, but it is actually going to be still a bit different because we want to make it a property, not a function. So it will be a get. We'll need to set up the property thing for it. I don't know if you can have a property of a module. That'll be interesting. Let's look at, yeah, no, you can because terminal.io font. Let's look at terminal.io font. Does that work? Terminal.io. Okay, it's not in here. Scope. No project structure. What? It changed me off of here. It's just added to the globals table as font. So ours will be added to the globals table as serial group. We'll point to our object, which in our case will be CircuitPython splash. Is that actually it? Do we not need to declare a get function? We need a get function, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe not because it's not an object? Shared bindings. Maybe would the get function be in shared module? Function would be in shared module. So here's our globals table. We're basically adding something kind of like this, but it won't be font. It will be serial group. It won't be supervisor terminal font. It will be CircuitPython splash. And we have access to that here. We're inside init C, and it's where it's no, it's declared in that supervisor one. They don't have imported here. I guess this probably doesn't work. Does it crash when we compile or when we run? Or does it just work? And my understanding of how it works or not is not real. No, okay, perfect. So it crashes when it compiles because it can't find this undeclared, yeah. So we need to probably import that supervisor. Where do we see that? Where did we see that import? This one. I don't know if it's more appropriate in any particular spot. I don't know if we're supposed to be importing from. This makes it compile though. That import would get us there. That import doesn't actually get us all the way there. Definition declared here. Is that not where this got CircuitPython splash from? Right? It back to it. But control click to the file. That's this file. Well, this is the C file. Have it because it's supervisor. This file is not, so I don't think. Let's change off your scope. Oh. Oh, it wasn't in this one. Really? Well, I see it's declared in. Where did we get to here from? Clicked init h. Third module displayio init h. Okay. Happens to contain a variable that happens to get declared in the other one, but is named defined here. Set up. First time it makes an appearance. Like that worked. Did we actually do anything? Maybe, right? We might just have this. I don't know, what is this? And it's never used. Why are the rest of these used? Alright, let's try it. Bootloader. actually just work. So it is showing the serial right now. This is before it disconnected. It crashed with this error. I think it might have worked. I see the REPL. I see the displayio, the dot and the square, and now I see back to the terminal. And then I guess technically none still probably works. But the way that would be more recommended now would be this, because it's descriptive. The code is clear what it's going to do. Let's run pre-commit on this. I don't know, this one might not be passing actions. The last time I think it failed though because size. Have to disable, I guess, oh, it would be disable displayio, I suppose. It's here. Okay, we're gonna leave. Oh, excuse me. We're gonna leave the translation stuff alone. We don't want to mess with that. We have our new import. We have our new serial group declaration. You could actually do some interesting stuff with that. You could you could move it and make it a different size. I'm actually sure if this works how I'm thinking, but I think this will move it. Yeah. It's now 100 pixels to the right of where it belongs, where it should be, where it is by default, which is on the whole screen, top left corner, basically. Interestingly, you could also append things to it, or you could delete the logo out of it, I suppose, if you wanted to get rid of that. You really do whatever you want with it once you have access to the group. Which you could have done before, too. You would have just set it to none, set it to show none, and then accessed root group, because you could access it as a getter before, just not a setter. And then that would have given you the group that is essentially this group. So a way to resize it and stuff like that. I think we're good though here. Adjust that file. Ooh. And I do think this probably fails for size on a few devices, but I will go ahead and make a draft PR. We don't have a draft PR set up. I've committed the code in the branch, and I think I linked it in this issue, but say display show API. A link to this issue, which is 7213. Oh, I should say it does not actually change. Well, it adds the new API. It does not remove the old API. The old API actually still works fine as well. You could still call show, which I think is what we want. My understanding is we would not make display show deprecated until 9.0, which will be a ways off. But if we get this in for 8.0 to be able to do it the new way, we could start migrating all the code to the new way. And by the time 9 rolls around, we'll hopefully be done updating all the code that we'll need to change. This change allows display.root group set the display rather than calling display show. I wonder if there's other stuff that we need to do though, because when we were setting it to none, was more code, right? The core, I think. If it's null, it was doing these things as well. Setting in group to false, setting x and y to 0, calling start terminal with height, setting root group to splash. And then in our new version, we're pretty much skipping all of this stuff, doing just this. Does that matter though? I'm not sure it does really. I think all of this stuff could be done from Python code as well, and like, I don't think it's likely to have been put in a different location or changed to a different size, and if it was, then I suspect the user probably wants to keep it that way, because most people would not even know that that's possible, much less actually figure out how to do it and do it. I think I'm inclined to say if they moved it, just let it stay where it's at. They can control it. They could move it back or resize it themselves if they wanted it to change again, rather than setting it to none. I mean, in the meantime, they could also just set it to none, which will cause all this stuff to run. Because technically the old code would still work as well. You could just put none here, and then this would end up being what happens. Make it a draft, because I'm pretty sure it's not actually ready. Like, I'm pretty sure it will fail actions for some devices being too not enough space. And I suspect it's probably likely there's still some more stuff that should change within it. I kind of just threw it together. But I don't know. I've been getting better about knowing how to do stuff in the core. Maybe I do have everything taken care of. It felt a little bit easier than I was expecting. I will say that. It feels like there's probably still some more to do, but I don't know what it would be. I mean, certainly there'd be more if we were trying to disable the old API now, but I don't think that's the intention. We'll make it a draft. Draft PRs run actions. So, right? It does take a second. Think the right thing. Why did I call it serial group instead of terminal group? Should I call it terminal group? I don't know why I just changed the name. Yeah, probably serial is wrong. Maybe it's showing the stuff that would be going, showing the stuff that is going to the serial port also. Serial is not. Anyway, I'll mention it on the PR side that open to discussion, certainly. think. Console group, I do like console. Yeah, serial console is what it's labeled in mu, which is where the same stuff that's visible would come through, right? You would see the same stuff on the screen as the serial console, so I do like console. I do kind of like dropping group. I think group is obviously more descriptive because it is a group, but how many people actually know what a displayio group is, right? Like even amongst people who use displayio for projects, I think it's probably more likely that people don't necessarily worry about the details of which objects are which type. They probably have code that's creating a group. They might recognize it as a group, but I don't know that actually specifying group adds anything to it, even though it is like literally correct, right? It is a group object, but I'm not sure that that is likely to give any additional actionable information to the majority of the people who are likely to see it. And it will take up, I assume it will take up space, so you know, it's not a huge savings, but if we can chop off a bit of it and save some space, especially if we're already thinking that we're going to be over on some boards, then like that's probably worth it as well. Okay. Well, that is basically what I was hoping to get done tonight. Truthfully, my goal was set it up so that you could set this object on displayio, this property here, back to the root group in order to show the terminal. That part is working. I do think there's discussion to be had about the names. I'm interested to get a review from anybody who knows more into the core, if I've skipped anything. And I think this is an interesting option. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on it, but I think it's an interesting thing, and I think now is the right time to consider it before we gain a bunch of people who are using root group. Because right now it is, I mean, like I wrote in here, right now it's probably not really used by anyone. I think Kmatch and myself have done some stuff with split screen. That's the only place I've really seen it used. As far as I know, I think that's when it got introduced, was when Kmatch was working on that stuff. But I'm not, I'm not positive of that timeline. That's just when I became aware of it, at least. So it would basically be people who have seen that stuff that we did and used it. I've not run across anybody who says they did that or shows that they did that. There may be people out there I'm not aware of. That's certainly possible, but I've at least not seen it. We don't have that many people using it now, so if we do think either of these are better, more descriptive names, then now is definitely the time to change it rather than after we get a bunch of people used to root group as the name. So I think that's where I'm at there. Is I think it's an interesting idea. I think now is the right time to consider it. Not 100% sure whether it's worth it to actually pull the trigger on the change or not. I think I lean towards yes, but also have not been thinking about it for too long. I could certainly back myself back around to the other way. Anyway, though, I think I'm going to head out for now. Again, this was basically the main couple of things I wanted to get done. Oh, let me check in on Vector.io. I did commit there. I'm not expecting anything new. Let's just check, though. Let's refresh. Oh, we did fail. Oh, 17 failing. Wow, we have a lot. Size thing, too. Let's take a look at this. I'll be heading out here pretty soon, but let's touch some archives. Not my fault. It's just like it tried to like apt install or something, right? It's like trying to install some stuff and it's failing. It's like didn't have internet access for that couple of seconds, or the server was down for a few seconds or whatever, like just didn't work. And it tried to fetch something. I don't know, I guess I could trigger it to retry, but I'm not sure. I'll just let it, I'll just let it finish. I don't want to mess with it while it's still running. Just let it finish, see what happens. My instinct is it just needs to rerun, and then I think those might succeed. I think it just got like unlucky or whatever, right? It just was trying to install stuff and failed. I'll check one more of them just to see if it's like, oh, this is the same thing. It's failed to get some archives. This archive just wasn't available for whatever reason. It failed to download it. It doesn't retry, so caused the action to fail. Yeah, I saw this one get updated, so I wasn't anticipating doing that, but we did. It didn't turn out to be taking too long. Got back into this, which is really what I was aiming to get done. We got that. We got the discussion kicked off about the name, so that is good for me for now. So thank you to anybody who is watching. Hope you found this interesting. Hope you have a good night and a good week and all of that stuff. I will... In terms of streaming again, probably like Friday for sure I'll be back for Deep Dive. And I don't know before that. Possibly sometime before that, but I'm not really sure. Definitely Friday though for Deep Dive, and then should be around Saturday for my stream as well. So if you do want to get notifications if I end up streaming before then, you can follow me on Twitch, foamyguy_Twitch, then you'll get the notification whenever I start. That's probably the best way to do that. So anyway, thanks for watching, anybody who is, and yeah, like I said, I hope everybody has a good night, and I'll see you next time, whenever that may be. Have a good night.